Hey everybody, welcome to Politics, Culture and Some Other Shit. Yeah, I know. It's been a while. Quite a while. Um, but it's good to be back. I feel like I'm going to be able to throw myself at this for the next wee while. I've got plenty to discuss with you. Plenty of good ideas, I think. Um, kind of, just sort of ran out of gas, I think. And then on personal issues, not making an excuse or anything, but my father passed away last year, and nearly a year now, and it kind of it was a big thing in my life, and it affected me greatly. But I feel like I give myself recently had a couple of good kicks up the asses, and I feel like I'm ready to get back into it again. And there's certainly plenty to discuss. We know that. This episode's going to be about reasons to quit Spotify. I'm going to get into it with you. Give you some figures and facts and details, maybe some things that you didn't know, and maybe encourage you to make that leap, make that jump. I know it's not easy, but we'll get into all that. The convenience is truly remarkable, but, and there's plenty of buts. So over the next wee while, I'm gonna be discussing in the podcast. I'm gonna be discussing the thing. Well, how do I put it? I mean, the stuff that's going on, really. That affects us here in Ireland. This is where I'm coming from with this podcast, as most of you will know. And we're going to be talking about AI, what's happening there. I've got a lot of information for you about that. Going to be talking about the Trump administration and what's going on there. As it's Saturday the 15th of November, 1:30. Everything's moving that quickly. Donald Trump, in the hour or two that I've spent out in my little studio preparing this episode for you, he could be out of office. It's that fucked up. Everything's a disaster. Um, well, depending on your perspective. Um, we're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about consumerism. We're going to be talking about all aspects of modern life, really. That's kind of what we're going to be going for. This episode is going to be available on your favorite platform, Spotify, because as I was preparing this episode, I just realised that that's where I actually upload my podcast to. I forgot. I forgot it myself, but I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna hopefully by the time I get to do another episode for you next week, I will have made the transition. I've done that with my own music. So my own personal output, Andrew McGibbon, it's no longer available on Spotify, and the Bonneville stuff, I'm in the process of figuring that out. It's not worth it. This is, I suppose I could talk from a personal place as a creator, as a musician. Um, um, the trap that they get you is you think it's the only game in town, and you are obliged to put your music up there for fear of losing out. And that's what it's all about. Back in the day, whenever I started, the real life version of that was playing gigs for free, playing gigs for no money, because it's a great opportunity. You always used to hear that. I never did it. Well, I did. I did it for a while in whatever band I was in. But whenever we got to the Bonneville stage of things, I didn't do it. I refused because I seen it for the trap that it was, and that's what Spotify is. And you have this. It's become its own word, like Twitter. Like that fucking idiot Elon Musk took a word that had been put in the dictionary and changed the name of his company from Twitter to that business from Twitter to X. People still call it Twitter, and he, if he was as smart as his fanboys make him out to be, he would change it back. Well, Spotify's that version as well. You just Spotify, you just Spotify, and it's just the way things are, and it sucks, and we need to move beyond. So what I'm going to do is I've got some information for you to explain to you what Spotify is, why it's being boycotted by a lot of people at the minute, um, by some of my favourite artists as well, personally. And you're hearing more and more. I was at a gig the other night, and young Ava Kearney from Aquatofana, a band here in Ireland, um, and a friend of mine, she went on stage and she 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 was singing her songs with her band, and she said, "This is our new single, or this song's available on Spotify, but we're working for moral reasons to have them removed." So this boycott by artists is picking up steam, and it's not just one thing. We've always known that they've always paid uh, musicians poorly. I mean, very poorly. We've always known this, but that I think we were always sort of kind of prepared to just suck that up, just take it, you know. Um, but that's changing. It's changing. It's changing. It's changing. So I made a couple of notes here. So reasons to leave Spotify. The first, Spotify has it's not single handedly done it, but it is the market leader in not paying musicians for their work, and that should be reason enough. It's not like there aren't alternatives, and I'll get into that with you. I'll explain a few of the alternatives. But as I said, they are the market leader, and you know, I have friends that send me music all the time, and they send me a Spotify link, and I have to sort of then figure out what the song is, and then type it into my streamer because I have a streamer on my phone. I use it every day for hours and hours at a time, and it's it's slightly inconvenient, but that's all it is. So it is a convenience, and convenience trumps everything. It really does. We know this. The TV and film industry is fucked because of the convenience of streaming. The cinemas are fucked because of the convenience of streaming. And music has become devalued, completely devalued, because of the convenience of streaming. And we need to sort of grow up a wee bit and just, you know, not do that. Um, so I'll go through these reasons. The second, so the first is Spotify is the market leader not paying us for what we do. The second is the AI slop. I'll get into more detail with that, but AI slop is polluting the streamers and predictably, it's even topping the streaming charts. Music has been reduced to background noise. We used to call it music, that jingly shite that was played in the supermarket when you did the groceries every week. But now it's your music that you made as an artist, as a musician, and now we've got AI producing slop, and we'll get more into that. If you don't know what that is, I'll explain more about that. The third is Daniel Ack, the devil's representative on earth. He's one of these. He's a CEO, one of the founders and CEOs of Spotify, and this is a man who doesn't give a fuck about music. He just no more than whoever owns Uber or started Uber cares about taxis, or whoever Just Eat cares about kebabs. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's a unit that they can transact, that they can financialize for themselves, that they have absolutely no part in creating. And this is where to get into this to an even deeper level, this is what the modern the modern tech bro capitalism represents. What they want to do, Chris Hedges puts it, they want to put a toll booth on a road that's been paid for with public money, your taxes, and they want to operate a toll booth and extract a fee for letting you drive on the road that you've paid for. That's what they do. You look at all these companies, Spotify, Uber Eats or Uber and Just Eat and these delivery companies, Deliveroo and whatever, they don't actually make anything. They don't create anything. Uber doesn't own the taxis, doesn't pay the drivers. That it's you doing. They just operate a fucking app. That's it. That's all they want to do. And these are the Chris Hedges puts it in a way. He explained the difference between the Trump administration and the um, Biden administration and effort to be re-elected, and the difference between the tech oligarchs and the the Biden administration, their version of oligarchs, and the difference is, what was the words he used? The Biden people were the corporatists. They need stability, right? They need stability to see their investments come to fruition. So they need, whenever they make an investment, it's a long term thing. So that's why then they send in, armies and things like that to destabilize countries in order so that they can come in. I mean, it's built on destability, but they have control of everything for a number of years and decades even. And then that way they're able to just extract their profits over time. Whereas the tech people, they're um, they requ- they require instability. It's the opposite, and that's what that election represented. Those two different factions of capitalism going at each other, and it was in this instance, for now anyway, it was the tech bros that won out. So, and Daniel Ek is one of those. He's one of those guys. He requires instability. Spotify, we'll get into it, but Spotify was built on the back of the failure of oh God, what was the one? Remember the sharing platform that Metallica took to court? Oh, I can't remember. But when they collapsed, Spotify came in, and at the beginning, Spotify weren't paying anybody for anything either. They were just another version of that, but they transitioned through. Anyway, so Daniel Ek, this is the third reason. Daniel Ek himself, the devil's representative on earth, is investing money in drone technology in a company called Helsing. It's building weapons that autonomously target human beings without human interaction. This is absolutely dystopian horror movie stuff. So he's investing in companies. He's invested heavily in a company called Helsing that is building drones that are working on choosing their own targets. So there's no human going, there's the target, and pressing the big red execute button. The drones are making the decision themselves. It's like something from Terminator. And to hear these people talking about this, they're vile. I mean, they're just disgusting. There's no empathy. No empathy at all for what they're doing. All they care about is profit. And what they would call development, it's regression, if you ask me. It's not development at all. But anyway, so we'll get into that as well a wee bit more. And then the fourth reason, I think this is where the satisfying glue will come from for us all. The tech bros, they need to be brought back down to earth. Imagine the joy you would feel if Spotify, through its own dystopian practices, sickened enough of us that we all left and brought it down. It could happen. The way the market works is if as little as maybe like 5-10% of us all got up and left, the stock prices would start to significantly drop. Which, if the pressure was kept on, it would turn it into a slide and could actually sink the company. I mean, companies have gone away before. They've disappeared. Wayfair was a company that it was worth billions. GoPro cameras, although they did actually make something, um, they used to be huge, and now they're not. There are reasons for that. These companies, they are not a monolith. They're not there forever. And they don't deserve to be there forever. So let's get into it. Spotify's mountain controversies. We'll call it boycotts, exoduses, and ethical backlash. Spotify, is the world's largest music streaming platform, and it's got over 100 million users. Now, much does it? My family plan is something like 15, £20 a month. We were on it this year. We changed. We went to my family was on. We used Spotify. Then we went to Tidal. I left Tidal for my favorite. I won't get into it. My favorite song got fucking brutalized on it, so I couldn't take it anymore. Um, so we went back to Spotify, and then we were there a few months, and I left again. I can't be fucking having it, and I'll explain to you where we went in a little bit. So they faced a torrent of criticism in 2025, leading to widespread boycotts from artists, listeners, and even some labels. One of the artists that has left is Godspeed You Black Emperor, which is one of my favourite bands in the world ever. I love these guys. If you go through my vinyl collection, I've got everything they've ever put out. I think I might be missing one piece, but I just absolutely love those guys. And they went, nah, we're not having it anymore. So, what began as a long simmering frustrations over artist payments has escalated into a full blown ethical reckoning. Fueled by the platform's embrace of AI generated content, we'll get into that more, and the CEO Daniel Ek's investments in military tech. High profile acts have pulled their catalogues, users are cancelling subscriptions en masse, and social media is ablaze with boycotts. Hashtag boycott Spotify. Some of the key issues. So you've got the payment to artists is a system that favours the few. Now you think I'll explain it here. We're going to get into it here. At the heart of the discontent is Spotify's royalty model, and this is, you know, this is the thing that drew the attention to Spotify. The amount of stream. You'd think if you got 3 million streams, you'd be able to buy a house with that. It's pittance. It's something like you get $3,000 for 1 million streams or something like that. And then they've even divided that cake up even more. So you end up with the likes of Taylor Swift. She'll get a bigger share of the pie. She'll get a bigger royalty cut, essentially. So she'll get 20 bajillion streams, but she'll also get more per stream because she got the reward that, it's not just everybody gets 0.000 point or 0.0004 of a cent. She gets more than that, and she gets more streams, and therefore she gets a bigger share of the pie. Do you see how that is bullshit? So, while Spotify reported paying $10 billion into the music industry in 2024, its highest ever, critics argued that this figure is misleading. The vast majority goes to a tiny elite of superstars and major labels, just as I explained to you there, leaving most independent and emerging artists scraping by. I mean, I'm an independent and a small artist. I mean, I'm never going to be anything big ever, and I will never get anything that's worth being on Spotify. And this is what I would say to all the artists out there, all the musicians out there. I hate fucking that word artist. I'm not an artist, I'm a musician. Take it off. Just get rid of it. Remove your music from Spotify. And the others, to be fair, but Spotify being the king. If you take these fuckers down, the others might get their message. You get nothing from it. You're literally getting nothing from it. In fact, quite the opposite. You're being devalued. You're being screwed over. So, the per stream rates remain abysmal. This is the main reason why us as musicians shouldn't be on Spotify. Artists earn roughly 0.003 to 0.005 cents per stream. That's less than a cent. Far below competitors like Apple Music, which are on 0.007 or 0.01, which is higher but still abysmal, or Tidal, which is 0.012 to 0.015, again, which is higher but not good enough. For context, it takes about 250,000 streams to earn a minimum wage for an hour's work. So think about that. It takes about 250,000 streams to earn minimum wage for 1 hour's work. In 2025, Spotify introduced a controversial artist centric policy requiring 1,000 annual streams per track to get royalties at all, effectively withholding payments from low streaming songs and funneling more money to bigger hits. Now, so that's the per stream rates. The next thing with the money side of things is what we call ghost artists and royalty dilution. Investigations have revealed Spotify partners with production houses create fake ghost tracks under pseudonyms for playlists, like peaceful piano. So let's say you're studying, or you're trying to go to sleep, or you just want some music on in the background. This is what they do. You'll go, give me some. You type in peaceful piano, and they'll create playlists around this. Now, these are low cost, non exclusive songs, often AI assisted. They siphon royalties from real artists by dominating the streams. So Spotify will push them onto you. And then what that does is that royalty has to be paid out to somebody because that song was played. Now, what if Spotify were creating the, the music via AI, which is what they do? Who are they paying? They're paying themselves. This is one of the essential things we have to understand about the nature of capitalism. What they always go for first to remove is wages. Wages, your value. This is what Marx tells us about our own value, the value of our labour. What we need to understand. Now, Spotify understand it. They know it fucking full well. So they're paying themselves and they're not paying you. Right? By pushing this AI assisted shite. Or they get some musician in to go and make us some nonsense and blah, 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 which anybody can do this. It's easy. And then that's what they push. So Harper's Magazine exposed this in 2020, early 2025, calling it a scheme to reduce payouts. The Union of Musicians and Allied Workers estimates this costs artists tens of millions annually. And rising, by the way. Now, the impact on the independent DIY artists like me, who generate 50% of Spotify streams, see the least benefit. The American Musicians Union, not the Musicians Union, but a union, uh, co-founder Joey DeFrancesco notes that Spotify's model turns musicians into data points, with many earning under $200 yearly. This has spurred legislative pushes like Representative Rashida Tlaib's Living Wages for Musicians Act, aimed at mandating fair payouts. Now, one thing like the Irish government has they trialled it, where they were paying musicians guaranteed income. It was about €350 a week, and they trialled it for a year or two there, and it was a great success. So they're broadening that out. That's in the Republic of Ireland, and unfortunately not us here in the north, where the pound spent per head on the arts and culture is pathetic. It really is pathetic. It's like £3 or £4 per head from central government. And it's very, but anyway, so artists like Taylor Swift, who boycotted Spotify in 2014, have long derided the system, but 2025's low rates remain unchanged despite Spotify's 1.14 billion profit have reignited fury. So this is the big thing that you hear about, is how much Spotify doesn't pay the artists. But you have to understand that it breaks down into various subheadings under low pay. Do you understand that? So one of the big things that I think is shocked me this year is the AI stuff the AI music thing is now. If you go onto one of those, like Microsoft, their AI engine is called Sora, and if you go, I think it's called, is it I? And if you, or is it Mura or Sora, something like that? You go on and you can give it a few prompts and it will make a song. And it, at first glance, it's really impressive. I mean, it's pish, but it sounds amazing for what that it can do that in a few seconds. And it is literally a few seconds. But you have to understand how AI works. It scrubs the entire internet for its information. So what it's essentially doing is stealing. So it's so if you say give me a song, it sounds a bit like the Beatles, it'll do that. It'll give you a Beatlesy type song. It'll have the key markers that would have you maybe confuse you to think that it's some rare, um, undiscovered B side that slipped under the radar of everybody for 50 years, 70 years, 50 years. But it is pish. But it is actually impressive how they do it. Now, Spotify's lax approach to AI generated music has turned playlists into battlegrounds where synthetic tracks outcompete human creations and, by proxy, erode trust. Now, how are you supposed to believe what you're listening to? There is a way around this, and I will explain all this at the end. The fake bands and impersonation, so in 2025, July 2025, there's a band on Spotify. You can go and do this yourself. Go and check it out. A band called The Velvet Sundown, an entirely AI generated band which fabricated bios, images, and amassed 1.4 million monthly listeners and millions of streams before admitting to their origins. Now, this was sort of controversial at the time. Everybody knew it. The whoever owns this Velvet Sundown pish were denying it, but everybody knew. We all knew. Spotify's verified artist badge lent it legitimacy, sparking outrage. Similar cases include AI songs uploaded to deceased artists' profiles. For example, Blaze Foley, who died in 1989, without estate approval. And dormant bands like Here We Go Magic seeing unauthorized AI tracks hijack their pages. So this is a big issue. So you can go to a band and this happened to me the other night. I can't remember what band it was. And I was searching and there was it wasn't on I said I don't use Spotify. What the fuck was this? But there was all this music by this person. No, it was a YouTube video I was watching and someone was showing it and it was this artist and that you know of, and there was all these new tracks, loads and loads and loads of them, and this person was going, "This isn't me." So this famous musician, it was someone like I can't remember, some British musician from like the 80s or something, and they were like, "This isn't me. I don't know who this is. This is not my music." And there's nothing you can do. Speaking again, from my own perspective, we keep having another. They're a real musician called the Bonnevilles from the 50s. They're a doo wop band from the 50s, and they put out some music in the 50s. And we keep having their stuff cross pollinated with ours. And we go to YouTube or Spotify, and we go to our digital distributor, and we tell them, and they go, "Oh, sorry," and they remove it, and it stays removed for a couple of weeks, and then it goes back in. You're dealing with a system that doesn't give a shit about you, and that's so. It as a musician again, speaking from my own perspective as a musician, it is fucking infuriating. So now, and this next little bit that I'm going to explain to you explains that a little better. So there's no label in their safeguards. Unlike YouTube or TikTok, Spotify doesn't flag AI content, allowing AI slop, low effort, algorithmic bait tracks from tools like Suno or Udio to proliferate. This dilutes the royalty pool. Again, this is all about the money. Spotify's September 2025 anti-spam policies were a response, but critics like Liz Pelly author of Mood Machine, called them insufficient, arguing AI exploits independence by training on their work without compensation. So that's what they call it. We call it scrubbing. They scrub your work. So they train so you can point your AI at something. Go right, go and learn all that. Go and scrub that. And they do. And they'll scrub the entire history of fucking recorded music. And then you'll come along and go, give me a song sounds like the Beatles, and that's how it does it. But you're not getting the Beatles aren't getting paid for that. Despite the fact that it's going in, then they'll stick it on some playlist on Spotify. It'll get millions of streams, and the person that pointed their AI at the Beatles and told them to copy that, they own that. They'll get paid, but the Beatles won't get paid. Do you understand? So the broader harm, AI floods genres like ambient and lo-fi, once havens for real creators. Now, I do ambient and lo-fi music. I do make some of that, and I was thinking about releasing some of this stuff. But what I won't do is put it on. I can't put it on the streamers. I've got an album's worth sitting, and I was thinking of just sort of releasing that out and putting that out. I enjoy that sort of stuff. Um, but you can't have it being mixed up with this shit because again, for me, the worry is it completely devalues. It completely devalues your art, your work, your music. Um, AI floods. So here we go. So AI floods genres like ambient and lo-fi, once havens for real creators. As one ex-user noted, Spotify was already pushing fake artists for financial gain before AI, which is true. Now it's infinite money glitches. Pelly warns this reduces human creation to algorithms, with bots scamming revenue from genuine bands. And that's what this is all about. As I said earlier on, Daniel Ack doesn't give a shit about music. That's not his thing. They sit around and figure out schemes in order to further enrich themselves. At no point do they go, what's the right thing to do? Is this right? Should we do this? At no point. So now, we've covered the money thing, we've covered the AI thing very loosely, but we're going to get into the third reason that I gave you. I think it was the third. Was it the third reason? Yeah. The investment in the military tech. Now, this is this has landed pretty hard, and it's kind of the straw that broke the camel's back in 2025. Whereas all us musician-y types, that we're all considered fucking lefties, and liberals, and all that sort of stuff. And generally speaking, I would say that's not far from the truth. So whenever you end up with the CEO of Spotify taking some of the money that we consider that he's stolen from us, and it is theft. What they do, as far as I'm concerned, is fucking theft. He's took some of that money and he's invested it in a military, the military industrial complex. That's a bridge too far. You know what I mean? It's a bridge too far. You can't have it. You can't do it. So Daniel Ek and the Helsing investment, from music to military drones. The tipping point came in 2025 when Daniel Ek's venture firm Prima Materia laid a €600 million funding round in Helsing, a Berlin-based AI defense startup valued at 12 billion. Ek became the chairman, touting it as bolstering Europe's strategic autonomy against threats like Russia. But Helsing's tech, AI drones for submarines and battlefield targeting, has been linked to lethal applications like the HX2 strike drone. And by the way, where do you think these fucking drones are being trained? Where do you think they're being trained? Gaza, Palestine, right? So the ethical clash with music's spirit. artists view it as hypocritical. Spotify profits from peace-evoking tunes, yet act diverts artist-derived wealth to war technology. Deerhoof, who are a band, I'm not overly familiar with them, but they're pretty big. Greg Sonnier called it AI bottle tech for the super rich, while Massive Attack decried a moral burden where fans' hard earned money funds dystopian technologies. Helsing insists its tools are for democratic defence. Ha! Not offensive use, but protests frame it as complicity in militarisation, which is exactly what it is. Ties to broader politics. X $150,000 donation to Trump's 25 inauguration, and Spotify hosting of his brunch added fuel, linking the platform to controversial US policies. X users decry it as funding wars while underpaying creators, which again is exactly what it is. Daniel Ek giving money to Donald Trump. Well, I mean, I it's what they do. It's disgusting, but it's what they do, and in that regard, he's no worse than all the rest of them. Because not so long ago, we saw. I mean, if you don't know you're being played by these people, can you remember whenever Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook Meta fucking robot boy, was just that, this androgynous little robot child that was driving us all fucking mental, and a nice liberal friend of the Democratic Party in America, etc. And that's who he was. Then, 10 minutes before Donald Trump gets elected, he takes up Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and goes wakeboarding with an American flag behind him. That's not a joke. He actually did that. Just completely sort of flipping on its head, trying to reinvent in his public image, and everybody just fucking fell for it. Goes on the Joe Rogan podcast, talks about MMA, turns up at a few MMA fights, and everyone forgets. These people they don't care. They don't care about the politics. Isn't what drives them. What drives them is their pursuit of money, and they will sit at the right hand of the devil so long as their investments are safe and growing. That's what that was. So Daniel Ek going to do that. He did it. They all did it. Tim Cook from Apple did it. Jeff Bezos did it. There was dozens. There was loads, like 20 of them all sitting around. It was pathetic, sitting there pouring sugar into Trump's ear. Yeah. So if you, and it's one of the things that fucks me off too about liberals and my arty musician class. Everyone's ranting. They're all going mad now about Donald Trump. Rightly so, but Donald Trump he's ugly. He's impolite. He's hard to look at. Not just physically, but hard to listen to as well. The things that he says, but he's just saying the quiet part out loud. It was under Joe Biden that the genocide in Palestine was funded. It's under Joe Biden that the NATO proxy war in Ukraine was instigated, leading to the deaths of 500,000 Ukrainians thus far and counting. That's not to take blame away from Russia and what their culpability, responsibility for that and in that, but it wasn't. NATO pushed that, and that was under Joe Biden. And now we're watching, to broaden it out a little bit, the Syrian president, who is a co-founder of ISIS and one of the leaders of Al Qaeda, is now the president of Syria and was in the White House just this week, pressing palms with the president in a nice suit. And while he was there, in the Syrian embassy, the American embassy in Syria, still had on its website, while he was in the White House, a $10 million wanted poster up on its fucking website for him, the current president of Syria. Obviously, they didn't know it's been taken down. But this is, ugh. But anyway, I digress. I'll be getting into that too, by the way, on future episodes about stuff that's going on in Syria, the Sahel in Africa, and other things. But so we'll get into all that. But anyway, I digress. I went off on one there. I'm pulling us back. So controversies emerged in summer 2025, igniting the hashtag boycott Spotify. And this is where I'm getting to it. The only thing they care about, the only thing, is money, stock prices. That's the only way we can hurt them. It's the only way we can make them change their behaviour. They're an out of control monster, and you have to attack their bottom line. And that means removing your music, removing your subscription, going somewhere else. Because if you do, this can happen. The boycott Spotify worked, prompting mass departures, and it's not just symbolic. Spotify's Q2 second quarter of 2025 earnings missed the targets, with the stock dropping 11%, and that has continued. Some of the artists that withdrew their music from the platform are Deerhoof, and they cited the Helsing AI investment and the low payouts, and they fully removed their catalogue, calling Spotify a data mining scam, which it is. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, ethical stand against the tools of war, switched to Bandcamp, demo releases exclusive there. So you can go to King Gizzard, Lizard Wizard's Bandcamp and you can pay them direct. Pay them direct for their music. My favourite band, Godspeed You Black Emperor, broad streaming boycott. They removed all their stuff, entire discography pulled from all the big streaming platforms, and you can go and you can just pay what you want. But I would say this to you: if you went there and downloaded, give them £20 for their entire catalogue of art, and it is pure art. As I said, one of my top 3 favourite bands of all time. You would be giving them more money directly into their pockets than they would ever get from all the times you stream them on Spotify. I would say you would be giving them more money directly for all the times 100 people streamed them on Spotify. Directly, you would give them the 20 quid. They would get that direct. So there was other bands, Hotline TNT, Juju, Wolf, Fenn Wilson and The Weather. And it seems that for these guys, the Helsing investment was the straw that broke the camel's back. And then the biggest of them all, I would guess, is Massive Attack. The moral burden of funding lethal tech joined the No Music for Genocide movement. First major label exit and urged subscription cancellations. Now, this is where it has ended up for. So I'm going to play you a couple of little videos here. It's very short, they're like a minute. So this one is a news report, and it's explaining. So Daniel Ek has stepped down as a CEO. I would say due to the pressure of this, because he's toxic. He's become a toxic individual. So check this out. Just make sure the audio is on for you. And boom, here we go.
Spotify founder Daniel Ek is stepping down as CEO, the company announced Tuesday, as the streaming giant reshapes its leadership team to fend off rivals and shore up profits. Ek, who built Spotify from a Swedish startup into a global tech powerhouse, will become executive chairman in January, shifting from what he called player to coach to focus on long-term strategy and capital allocation. 2 longtime Spotify executives, Gustav Soderstrom and Alex Norström, will step in as co-CEOs and report to Ek, who also serves on the board. With nearly 700 million monthly users and over 100 million songs, Spotify remains the market leader. But competition is heating up from Apple Music, YouTube Music, and Amazon Prime's offerings. And pressure on profit margins persists as artists push for higher payouts and the ad-supported tier expands. The company reported its first annual profit only in 2024 after a slew of price increases and cost-cutting efforts. Shares of Spotify were down more than 5% Tuesday morning after gaining 63% this year.
So, just mute that. It's not great. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're not becoming impoverished, as you can tell. But it's a start, and it is a start. It's a good start, and we must keep up the pressure. So let me just play this little video for you as well. This is a guy called John Wilkes, who I'm pretty sure I follow this guy on Instagram. So we'll have a listen to what he has to say. So check this out.
Spotify's CEO, Daniel Ek, has taken the money that he should be paying musicians, the money that you are paying him in subscriptions every month, and he's invested it in an AI weaponry company called Helsing. Now, Helsing has developed something that it calls a reconnaissance strike software platform. That's an automated target identification and mission management system with the option to keep a human in the loop. In other words, it's machines selecting which humans to kill on the battlefield. It's dystopian. Now, Spotify says it's just for use in Ukraine, and Helsing says it's just for use by democracies. And I wonder if it's just for use by the highest bidder. It doesn't stop there either, because Spotify donated $150,000 to the Trump campaign, a man whose policies and rhetoric have targeted minorities and torn communities apart. More recently, Spotify have been running ICE recruitment ads, ICE being the US Immigration Enforcement Agency, known for family separation and detention camps. And for those of you engaging in whataboutism and saying that other platforms run those ads too, well, they don't have to. They have a choice, just as you do. I've not even mentioned the fact that they pay artists so little. I feel like we've been burying our heads in the sand on that one. I know I certainly have. If you want to know more about that kind of thing and the history of the algorithmic mess that we currently find ourselves in, I recommend Liz Pelly's excellent book, The Mood Machine, or having a listen to the Drowned in Sound podcasts with Laura Bird. I think they're called something like Disarm Spotify. And listen, none of these big streaming platforms have got the answer right yet. I think the only ethical solution is to go to the gigs, support the artists directly, buy from Bandcamp.
Yeah, so there we go. And he's absolutely spot on. I don't disagree with any of that. Again, I do have a bit of an issue with the giving Donald Trump money as if it's uniquely bad. I don't see it that way myself. I mean, Donald Trump is bad. I'm not MAGA or anything like that. But I do think it does make me fucking a bit queasy when people point at him whilst ignoring all the stuff that was done before him. You know, I just don't see it that way. I mean, we should point at him. He's a fucking arsehole and he deserves it. But it's fun. I watched sort of just I'll digress for a second, but I promise I'll come back. Last week, a guy called Zoran Mandami, who was elected the mayor of New York City, and he's a Muslim and he's a socialist, a democratic socialist, which is basically a liberal. They need to change their name from democratic socialists to social democrats, because that's what they are. But regardless, he's got some nice policies, you know, talking about rent freezes and trying to address the cost of living crisis for New Yorkers, which is fantastic, and it all should be done, and I wish him all the best of luck in all of that. But also at the same time, while that election was going on, there were some vacant seats in various wards, councils and city halls and all that sort of stuff across the state, and there was 12 other elections held all at the same time, and all the MAGA people, all the Trump people got wiped out, and they were all won by Democrats. And I heard a lot of people applauding and cheering, or I witnessed a lot of people applauding and cheering as if they'd won something. But I couldn't believe it. I was actually sort of shocked. I was like, but these people aren't going to give you anything. This is just back to what the other crowd did. You know, you mightn't like Trump. You know, he is vulgar and crude, and he fucking drives you mental. But the other crowd are just sort of politer and nicer, and you know, they say the right words and they say the right, but they're not going to give you anything. And the only way for you to extract what you as the working class need from the ruling elite, all you have is to withdraw your vote, remove your subscription from the likes of Spotify, etc. You know, just what you give them, you have to withdraw it, and that means and when it comes to politics, your vote, if they're not giving it to you, you're not joining a fucking cult. Refuse to vote for them and mean it. Anyway, that's another thing I'm going to be going on about in a future episode is this cult-like behaviour of voters that they think they've won something. Oh, it makes me fucking sick. So I think that's a good overview for you all. I think you've got it there. You can see what all the issues are. So what are the solutions? There are solutions. So here, the user backlash that we've mentioned, listeners are fleeing to Apple Music, Tidal, Qbuzz. Remember that? Qbuzz or YouTube Music, citing the reasons, the ads for ICE and the military stuff. Where am I here? All right, so what's next is a reckoning for streaming. Spotify defends its model as fair and transparent, emphasizing 60 billion paid since 2008 and AI's creative potential. AI's creative potential, are you fucking joking? But with stock volatility and user churn, pressure mounts for reforms, direct artist payments, AI labeling, and ethical investment. As Pelly puts it in her book, Spotify has ruined the music industry, turning listeners into passive consumers. And for now, the exodus signals a shift. Music as resistance, not just algorithmic fodder. If you're on the fence, alternatives like Qbuzz, I'll explain about Qbuzz in a second because that's the one I went to. High-res audio for royalties, etc., or Bandcamp direct sales from the artists offer ethical outputs. The platform built on music for everyone may soon face a world without them. So, what do we do? First of all, cancel your Spotify. You need to do it. If you're on a family plan, sorry, your daughters, your sons, your wife, your whoever, they're going to have to do the transfer. Now, I did this. I've done this a few times. I've tried them all. I've tried Deezer. You go to all these. There's a free trial. You get a free trial. You can go to Tidal. It's very good. You go to Deezer. Not so good. YouTube, I wouldn't recommend because it's owned by Google, which provides services, cloud services specifically to the military-industrial complex. So for ethical reasons, if the Helsing investments by Daniel Ek or have disgusted you to the point that you think you're going to leave the platform, I don't think YouTube Music is a good option for the ethical reasons because I think it's just as bad. But I'm going to be open and honest with you here. YouTube does offer, you also get YouTube Premium with the music, so it's good value, but you know, you're fucking the artists as well, so I wouldn't do that. I don't have YouTube Premium. I used to have it because I used it for research, but I got a workaround for that. I figured out a workaround, and I don't have to give Google any money. And another alternative is Apple. Now, they do pay quite well. They don't have AI. They have human curation, and there's no military ties that I'm aware of. I don't know about. I'm not 100% sure. I think they do have military-industrial investments. Now, Qbuzz, this is a French company. This is the one that I researched. And whenever I was looking for somewhere else to go, I went on to a few Reddit forums and I had a wee bit of a hunt around. And this is the one that I chose. Now, this is for this reasons. High res audio, which is really, really good. It actually is. Even so, we were sitting, I was streaming it from my phone onto my hi-fi in the living room. We're listening to some music, and my wife Janie says, "Is this better audio than Spotify?" So, and I don't mean to insult her. Even she noticed, but it's normally. I was surprised that that came out of her mouth. It's not the sort of thing she would normally notice or certainly say out loud to me. But she noticed it. I went, yes, it is actually. It's higher res audio, and you can choose different levels, like basic MP3. Like, so if you're out and about and you want to keep your data low, you can just choose the MP3. Or if you're in the house and you're streaming via Wi-Fi, you can go super high quality audio, and it sounds fantastic. It pays 4 to 5 times more than Spotify. It's the highest payout of all the streamers, which is the other main reason. And it's got no AI on it, no AI slop, and it's got there's no ads. Spotify, even if you do pay now, they're moving to a change in it that even if you do pay, you still get the fucking ads. And it's got no military industrial complex ties. Um, and it's curated. It's a French company, French independent, and it's artist approved, whatever that means. But it's you, uh, my own experience from being a user of Qobuz. Qobuz is spelled Qobuz, by the way. Um, what I like, I'll tell you what I like. I love the high quality audio. I love that it's there's people they send you recommendations, and it's a person doing it. You know it's a person doing it. They have a magazine at the front end of the app. It's like a magazine, and you go and read articles about particular musicians' releases, and it's like things that are happening now, and you know retro stuff, which I like that a lot as well. They have a Qobuz community thing, which is there's not really much going on there, but I expect that it'll get busier as time goes on and more people pick up on the platform. And yeah, it just operates much like Spotify. Now, one of the things that I don't like, and I really don't like, and it's for me, it's a bit of a pain in the ass because it is the one thing that I like that Spotify did, which was you go to I think like a song radio. So if you have a song and you click on the menu beside the song, you go to song radio, and then it'll play songs similar or of that genre or whatever. And I discover so much more new music that way. That feature on Qobuz is fucking shit. And it's a real big problem for me because I did use it a lot. I would have used that half the time that I was listening to music on Spotify. And then I just sort of like, if I hear something that just tickles my brain, I'd like that song and it would go into a wee playlist. And yeah, so, oh, Jeannie's ringing me. 1 second. Pause. Yeah, so, sorry about that. As I was saying, yeah, the song radio is really, really poor. I listen to all sorts of genres. Um, one of one of my favorites is Irish trad, and when you go to song radio for Irish trad, it really doesn't have a fucking clue. It puts like Paul Simon and stuff is next song cues them up next, and it's really bad. But it's getting better. They've actually emailed me a couple of times and asked me for my opinion and things, and I've given them detailed responses. So they've emailed me back. So I think yeah, and they kind of want to stand. They said, "Kim, do you mind if we reach out to you?" And I went, "No, no, it's okay." So it's real people. It's a real proper company. And there's no AI, the band AI on it, so you know what you're listening to is proper music. So yeah, so Qobuz is where I would recommend that you go. The best of all is obviously going to Bandcamp, where you're giving the musicians the money direct into their pockets, and going to gigs and buying it from them direct. So the top 3 picks for UK boycotters, UK and Ireland, I would say, is Bandcamp. It's not a straight. I think the Bandcamp sort of. They should they should develop that. They should build a streamer themselves. Qbuzz, and then the third one would be Tidal. Tidal is good for hip hop, R&B, and I think Chris uses it, so I think it's really good for heavy metal as well. He seems to like it. If you go to Qbuzz, for example, you can migrate across all your playlists and all your songs and all your, so that information that you have on Spotify, Qbuzz give you a free transfer. So you can just, they give you like a credit for a company called Soundiz, I think it's called. And I did it, and it was perfect. It just brought near enough everything over all together. So yeah. So there we go. That's us. I think we're done. I think I've explained everything. Yeah. Let's get some tunes on. Talking about music. Get some music going. There we go. It's a nice bit of music. I like that one. What I have to do now is figure out how I'm going to get this uploaded. I'll upload the... going to make a hypocrite of myself. For the sake of convenience, remember that word that we used earlier, I'm going to upload this to Spotify because it's sitting on my computer and I need to figure out how to not do that. So for the next episode, which will be coming this week, we're going to figure out how to do this without uploading to Spotify. That's it. That's all we're going to do. So listen, thanks everybody for listening. Can I ask you please to share this episode if you can, to get it out there. The only way I'm going to be able to get this out and let people know is, through my Patreon, which is still open, by the way, if you want £2 a month and all that. I get killed in the algorithm, and Twitter these days it may as well not exist for me. Whenever I post up, just nothing happens. I think I've been put on some sort of a blacklist, just to silence, because I was, because of my political views and whatever. And I'm not saying that because I'm a big deal or anything. You don't have to be a big deal. They'll just do it to you anyway. So I go on there and I share this stuff, and I seriously, I may as well not bother. So my only recourse is to ask you to share. So if you enjoy the episode, please share, and I'm back on the podcasting bus, and we'll see you soon. And I'll be uploading it to YouTube. The video will be going up. This episode there's no camera going. I've lost the battery thing that I need for my camera. I don't know where it is. So I bought a new one. So whenever I'm feeling particularly ugly, I'm going to be just putting up this Holton page. And whenever I think I'm feeling pretty and everyone's looking good, I'll put up a camera. Yeah? Why wouldn't you? Anyway, there we go. Thanks everybody. Talk soon.